So now that we know what cats do when they sleep, why is this significant?
Well, there are a lot of theories to why we dream, and we'll get to some of them really soon. But the theory that fascinates me the most is the one that Jouvet's cats from the 60s can show us. They show that their dreaming is about one of the things they need to do to stay alive. What if it's the same for us? What if when we started dreaming, it was about hunting and killing some rabbits? Or what if it was defending ourselves from a lion attack? There you are, a caveman, and you have this seemingly horrible dream that you are confronted by a lion and you have to decide, fight or flight. You choose to fight the lion with a stick, and you win. But then, the next week, you're confronted by a lion. Wait, we've seen this before. You know to grab the biggest stick you can and look as intimidating as you can. And you survive the lion attack to pass on your genes of this preparatory dreaming skill. Now cats, they do have a lot of predators out in the wild, but they dream about this hunting, maybe so they can know what to do in real life, practice it all the time, even when they're not awake because they need to be that good at it. But what about non-life-threatening dreams for humans? Because I'll be the first to admit, my normal dreams get pretty crazy. One moment I'll be in school and the next I'll be in the grocery store. So maybe for the dreams where there's not an immediate threat, we're dreaming about it simply because it's part of the fabric of our lives. Maybe dreaming can serve many purposes, including the theories I mentioned before, maybe other ones we don't even know about yet. Here to weigh in on the subject is Dr. Parsons. Quick disclaimer, the theories we talk about are theories, not scientifically proven. My angle for this project is that we kind of need that REM sleep so that we can create situations in which we would need to survive, and that's why it's really important for us. What do you think about that theory?
I think that definitely is possible, especially if you're thinking of sleep as a time, thinking of it as kind of a cognitive structuring time to be able to sort of form memories. That's one thing. That's one thing that people think is important for REM sleep, is sort of processing or creating memories. And that's important, as you mentioned, that kind of, unless you can imagine, if you're not able to create memories, then it's very hard to sort of create a situation where you can plan things or think of your life as happening in a progression of events, right?
Yeah.
It would be difficult to go through life if you didn't have any memory of
right, you would be
that had happened or learned anything from anything that has happened to you. So I do think it is it's one of the potential ways that sleep is important, is helping us, and that would be supported, I think, by the changes that happen in childhood. You kind of need those areas of sleep and REM sleep to be able to structure your brain so that you can move through life and understand, learn from things that have happened. One of the studies, and I'm trying to think of which one it was, showed that REM sleep increases after animals go through certain tasks where they learn something new. And so is that helping them to say, I learned that if I turned left in the maze today, that I found a little piece of cheese. And so it's important that then they be able to process that and be able to access that memory in the future so that they can perform better and find food. So you can imagine that would be important in life in general. It would be important evolutionarily if you're going to fight against others and have to seek out food. You want to be the one who remembers where the good food was last time.
Right.
Those sorts of
things. So, not only is it making situations, but it's helping you develop your memory skills and also kind of keeping important memories so that you don't have to relearn everything every day, kind of.
Right. You wouldn't want to have to relearn everything every day, because then you wouldn't really be able to, if you think of it entirely as sort of a survival benefit, then you're going to be able to survive better. If you're able to remember what you did last week, you could find the right food or find the right mate or find, the safe place to hide.
Yeah.
Those sorts of things are all helpful.
So we know how REM can be turned off in cats by essentially destroying the part of the brain that shuts the muscles down during sleep. But what about humans? Interestingly enough, some people have a loss of REM atonia naturally. It's called RBD, or REM sleep behavior disorder. It mainly happens with older men, and we'll get to the reasons why soon. What happens with this disorder is that their dreams often turn way more violent. And not only do they turn more violent, but just like the cats, they start acting them out. This RBD got so extreme for some people, well, before they were treated, they were violent towards their partners in bed and had to be tied down during sleep. One of the RBD studies done at the Mayo Clinic reported that 96% of patients injured themselves or hurt their bed partner while sleeping. Severe cases reported C2 vertebral fracture. This is a fracture that happens in the top of the spinal cord, around the neck area, and is also called hangman's fracture because it's like an injury someone would get if they hung themselves or got serious whiplash from a car accident. That's crazy. They were hurting themselves that much they got whiplash? Why did this happen? Well, researchers aren't 100% certain, but there are a few things to know about these cases. First, they happen mostly with men, which you would think would show that men have violent dreams because they need to practice protecting. But when these sleep disorders are developed, the dreams actually turn more violent than they used to be, showing the sleep disorder itself has something to do with the content of the dream. Secondly, it happens mostly with older men. In several RBD studies done in the 1980s and 90s, about 87% of sufferers were male, and the average age was about 60. But something characteristic of RBD is that in the studies done, a significant portion of the cases suffered from a neurological disorder during the testing or after. For example, Parkinson's. From a paper published by the journal Sleep, RBD may be the initial manifestation of a Parkinsonian disorder in a substantial number of RBD cases initially considered to be idiopathic. Idiopathic just means a disorder that appears spontaneously. I think it was Michel Jouvet did with the lesions in the ponds, and then the cats just, kind of similar to the RBD, they just acted out these really kind of violent hunting dreams.
Yeah. So it's interesting to kind of think about why that might be the case, and it's tough, right, because clearly you can't do that kind of experiment in people. It would be unethical to do so. And that's part of the reason I think that it's kind of tough to completely understand what's going on in people, is that we can't create those sorts of lesions in people. So we have to pick people that are at risk for those disorders, and they already have, usually Parkinson's or some other kind.
Yeah, and I think something that was really interesting is that a lot of the people who had RBD years later developed Parkinson's, and it's almost like, you're seeing into the future, like you have a pretty good chance.
It may be that we certainly have found that too, that sometimes you catch people because they tend to have particularly violent dreams and they've hurt themselves or a family member, and we catch before their Parkinson's comes on. It's true. You wonder if this may be sort of a harbinger of things to come, and that inability to control that during sleep is sort of the first step. There's deterioration. Yeah.
So you've dealt with RBD? Like you've had patients with it?
I have had patients that have had it, and for some people it can be can be really serious. One patient I had, his girlfriend actually had to leave the bed because he would have terrible dreams of people, coming after him and trying to kill him.
Right.
And he'd be getting in fights with them. And he wouldn't realize that he was beating up on his bed partner.
Yeah. REM behavior disorder is important for understanding the dreaming for survival theory that I talked about before. The instincts sufferers of RBD have in their dreams are so raw. It's similar to how crying shows the naked emotion of pain or happiness. In a way, I think the sufferers of RBD can show us a deeper layer of dreaming, the essential defensive way of life, the need to stay alive and reproduce, because people who don't practice that die.